muted.
Really?
Okay. Okay, so it wasn't muted before? It was muted before?
No, it wasn't muted before. I think only you are.
How did it
right
unmute
now.
it? Oh, that's what happened, is I was muted. Okay, well, welcome to the patch 4.0 discussion. I am joined by Beastyqt, SortOf, Harstem, and Papi will be making cameo appearances. Do you want to say hello, guys?
Hello.
Hi.
Fan-fucking-tastic. Let's move on then. Get into it right away, yeah? So, patch notes. In general, StarCraft is free to play. I feel like we should touch on this really quickly. Any thoughts on free to play, Beasty?
I mean, it's pretty cool. Like, I've noticed a lot more people tuning into the game. Like, Reddit threads are popping up, you know, like, what should I do against this? I'm a new player. Even, like, streams, I think, got a little bit of a viewership boost.
Definitely.
So it's pretty good.
It's, yeah, endearing to see new people join in and ask how to get good and whatnot.
Sure.
Anyone have anything to add on, Kevin? Sort of?
It's great. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like they should have done this years ago. But I'm not gonna complain that they, you know, it's a good thing. I'm very glad they did it.
I think it's
Very
a
good
thing of like
decision.
finishing sales or whatever, and then, you know.
Yeah,
so,
probably. For us, it would have been nice if it was.
For
done
us,
a
it
long
would have
time
been
ago.
nice. For us as players, it would have been
Yeah.
fantastic if they did it a while ago. I completely agree.
Yeah, and that's. I'm glad they did it now, at least. You know, it's.
Yeah, definitely. Now, people watching this are probably, you know, have probably been around for a while. There must be some new people here, but it's important to encourage, I think, the people who are still around to continue to, you know, visit Reddit, upvote, share your insights with new people coming, and just be encouraging overall. Just be active. Say your opinions, for better or worse. And that's it, yeah. Co-op commanders, we are not going to care too much about that, unless anyone cares about that. No, we are no experts in co-op. Maybe we'll do an episode with Loco and someone else. But we'll just skip through this. Balance. Okay, balance.
Oof.
Okay, so general, large mineral nodes increased from 1500 to 1800. Smaller mineral nodes values remain at 900. Bespin Geyser values increased from 2000 to 2250. General thoughts? Anyone that wants to talk about this first?
Like, it's not a big deal, right? Like, doesn't really change how you expand or anything. It's just going to be that turtling is going to be a little bit better because you can get a bit more minerals on a fewer bases. But yeah, in general, I
feel
don't
like
think
there's
this is going to change anything.
I think it does change a few things in terms of, like, for example, the games feel like they don't end as suddenly because even if you are, say, on 3 bases, or even if you stick to like a longer 2 or 3 base type aggression, you're not completely out. It feels a little bit easier to remax and kind of keep the fight going with this, at least to me. I'm not sure if...
Yeah, but I guess like the thing is, for it to actually come into effect, it actually has to be like 15 minutes into the game, right? So the games usually end before that point, right? Unless you're going into a turtle game.
The small mineral nodes, they remain the same. So you're still going to need to, if you want to keep the same income as before, you're still going to need your fourth base as early as you did before.
If you
and
want
most
to keep the
likely
same
even your
income as
fifth.
before, yes. But
So like the only thing it really does is, like Rickard said, if you go over like 15 or 16 minutes and the main patches, you get like, what is it, 1200 extra minerals. And usually at that point in the game, 1200 minerals doesn't mean that much anymore. You can expand quite freely if you have like an 18 or 20-minute game already. At least that's what I feel like. I haven't really felt the difference. It's a bit annoying in late game with the lack of gas. Like, I do feel that a little more than I feel the added minerals, actually.
Okay, Beastie, any thoughts?
I think it adds quite a bit for Terran because you're muling, like, you know, the main base than the natural, so it allows you to, like, not mine out those big mineral patches as quickly as you do the weaker ones, I guess. So I think it's quite good for Terran, but for the other 2 races, I think it just kind of, instead of it being completely, you know, mined out, you get like half a base income. So like you said, it's a little bit easier to transition, even if you're, you know, a little bit behind.
Yeah.
But in general, I like it quite a bit because the games are not, where we had in Wings and Haas, where it's like, 1 hour on 3 base, all inning after all in. But it's also not, I missed the timing, I'm mine down on like base and a half, I guess it's done. So it's like a cool mix in between, and I think this is probably the best one. I
agree, and it accomplishes what they set out to do. I will always be hesitant to say something's the best over something else, but I enjoy the change, and I feel some change with this new economy. It may not be huge. It still promotes expanding, I think, but it's less punishing. I think it's in line with prolonging the games and not making them end suddenly. Also, there are things that can be taken into account, like, say, if you're not working off of full 3-base saturation, right? Which is a very weird and unique scenario that most people may not find themselves in. But if you're not working with a full saturation, this basically prolongs your full income for much longer, potentially. So, I like it. Okay, Terran. So let's delve into this. We have Beasty and Juanito here. Your thoughts will be much appreciated. So Raven, auto turret, point defense drone, and seeker missile abilities are removed. Added the interference matrix, repair drone, and anti-armor missile abilities. So do you want to walk us through that, Beasty? I'll just leave the abilities on the screen so people can read what they do.
Okay, so the new Raven, people make this mistake of comparing it to the old one. I think the units have completely different role that, the new one and compared to the old one. This new one is just a support unit, like a really, kind of like a clutch unit in certain situations, especially in the early game, like in TVT. But it's not anymore that unit that you go to late game with and you're just kind of unstoppable in all 3 matchups if you have enough of them. So I really like the new path that they took with the Raven. The repair drone, you can do some really cool timings with it. Like if you play mech against Zerg, from what I've done at least in the past couple of days and weeks, then it just brings a lot of sustain to your mech. Even if you're 200 out of 200, just having like 3-4 Ravens for repair drones gives quite a lot of sustain to mech. Then we have I call it the new seeker missile, which I'm still not sure what it's called. I think so I like the idea behind it. Like the -3 armor is really cool. It gives you kind of like a new way to deal with, high armor units. And I like using it. I enjoy it. It has a lot of like cool kind of unit compositions you can do. I've been testing a lot with battle cruisers, since battle cruisers attack fast, they shred armor. With Marines, with Cyclones, and I think that's a pretty cool aspect of it. But I think
that's a really good thing to touch on for new players or players that are looking to try to utilize the Raven. As far as the armor reduction goes, the units that will benefit the most are, like you're pointing out, fast units that fire fast and don't deal necessarily too much damage, because the relationship between damage and armor in StarCraft 2, as opposed to, or different to other games like Dota 2, is 1-to-1, right? So if you have 3 armor and your unit does 3 damage, your unit now deals 0 damage. Whereas in other games, armor is a percentage-based thing.
So I think that is actually, it's pretty huge buff, right? Like if your Marines do +3 damage.
Insane,
I don't know if anyone ever had a game +3 attack against your armor, but it's like the units just die.
Yeah.
The problem I see with this new missile is, like, again, I love it, it's cool, but it removed the AoE from the Terran, and it kind of makes it very impossible to deal with Broodlord Infestor, which is what Terrans have been complaining about.
One of my favorite words. Got you. That makes sense. Yeah. Do you want to touch on this, Papi, at all? Or are you good?
Yes, of course. I'm very angry about this, because they basically made the Raven a useless unit with all these changes, all of them. So we had the Raven was very useful against Zerg, right, to play against Hydra Link Bane, because they had no way to really deal with the auto turrets, right? But now, since they removed that, just by doing that, we can bioplay a lot, because Hydra Link Bane is so strong. They have it's so strong, they need some way to punish it. That's why most Terrans were opening Raven, so they were able to punish it with bio. But now you don't really see people playing bio anymore because the openings are just bad. Also,
that is one thing to consider though. Is like, for example, we were just talking about the Raven. Had you thought about using the armor reduction spell with bio?
It's not viable. It's not possible to. It's too much.
It's the best place to use or to try the.
Yeah, well, you will throw the missile like to the ultras or whatever, and they will still run you over with ultras. Like it would really not matter.
Okay.
It's too expensive. You need to tech up as well. Like, because you need a tech lab with the star pods. So you normally have like what 1-2 star pods maximum. What else? Like the drone healing is pretty good, especially when you get it like with many Vikings. Against Brutal Infestor. I feel like that's the best way to kill Brutal Infestor, with like healing your Vikings. And
that's pretty cool.
And as TY said, the missile is so useless. It's insane. He was playing some games. He was trying this missile, and someone said in the chat, "Oh, that looks pretty useless." And he said, with his word, "Yeah, the spell is completely useless. If they want to make it useful, it should be like 7.5 mana. That's how useless it feels right."
I think that one of the main issues is the trajectory of the spell. Like, in order to cast the spell for it to hit the units, maybe that's the bit that could be buffed a bit. I would like to see the missile be a little bit faster to hit the units and reduce the armor. But I think that one pitfall that even TY might fall into is try to make the missile and the Raven work with mech as opposed to with bio or with battle cruisers or fast-firing units. I feel like there's a lot to figure out.
He tried against Protoss too with a bunch of VCs, and like the missile and thing, he still used that to Tempest carries. It doesn't matter. You reduce armor. Your army still dies really quick, and it's really easy to feedback the Raven too.
But Papi, imagine this: what if I could give your Marines +3 attack in a fight?
Yeah,
wouldn't that be nuts?
It's not really, because they still will run you over with Bailings. It's not like you're gonna kill the Bailings in time, you know.
Why do you get upgrades then? Why do you get +3 at all ever?
I mean, because otherwise you lose.
So if I'm offering you double the attack upgrades.
But when a third place like it has ultras and you're supposed to use it on ultras, for example, they will just run all your mains and shit with like Bailings. You know, it's not like it's not really viable. Terran play.
I think that's why I'm saying I think that if it was a little bit faster to hit the army compositions, it might make a bigger difference.
I think that you remove that and put the turret back.
All right.
That's my suggestion.
Let's carry on then. Unless anyone has anything to say about Ravens.
Mechanics, be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like, the main reason, like Papi said, that bio isn't very good anymore is because there's no good bio openings. Like, there's basically only 3CC, right? That transitions well into bio. And it's a pretty shitty build, to be honest. Like, Raven was the best bio opening before this patch.
Save your scans.
Yeah. And now it's... now they kind of have to go Hellbat, right? Like, Hellbat or Banshee. That's the really only options. Or 3CC. And it just makes the early game very easy for Zerg. And if you have a good early game versus bio, you're usually in a good spot for the mid game.
Got you.
And yeah, the late game is like Beastyqt said as well. It seems really Zerg favorite now from my games at least. Since like before they would have the Raven as an answer at least, even if it was really hard to get to. The Raven was still an answer to like the Bulldog Infestor late game, but now it feels like
I feel like we have to be a little bit careful in overlapping the discussion between how balanced overall feels and like the discussion about like single units or abilities, right? Because they're very different things. But I feel you. So you guys feel like Terran's a little bit weaker than Zerg right now.
I feel the Raven is useless.
Got you. That's good. That's, I mean, good in terms of the discussion. Consistent.
Yeah.
Liberator.
Okay, just to go back on the Raven, I think what they should have done, I like I said, I love the new Raven. I like the idea it's going. I don't think it's finished unit. I wish they gave the Thors the repair drone, because Thors right now, I mean, you know, like give them like a deployment where they become the repair drone or something like that, and then keep the auto turret and the Raven and the other two abilities. I think that would be pretty cool. You could still make the Raven in the early game. Thors would get like this,
and it would still be difficult to spam the Raven to justify spamming the Raven for.
I think that would be wrong. I think they should just remove the missile and put the turret back. Simple as that.
I don't know. I like the missile.
I like the idea of the missile too.
You like it, yeah, but it doesn't do anything.
Well, they can
really
tweak it.
doesn't do
They
it.
can tweak it so that it does much, right?
But it's
So that
still
it
like
does more.
in a pro game, you will never get to Ravens. As mechanics about it, it's not viable. It's not.
I mean,
possible to get to Ravens.
you're just talking about Raven openers. How can you say that you would never get to Ravens?
Like in a normal game, you're playing TVC, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to Ravens is almost impossible. Like there's no time to make starports and make Ravens. You use
But
that.
there was Raven
You use that.
openers before. I understand it's because of the auto turret. I'm saying that there's different functions. With,
but now
within
it
the
doesn't.
Raven.
Now if you make a Raven TVC, you just like make it and use the unit.
That's because we're talking about how the Raven isn't that strong, right? But if they tweak things about it,
no, they would need to get the turret back to make it viable against their opening. I'm not even kidding.
Okay.
That's mechanics. Be honest, mechanics.
Like, I'm not sure they need to bring the turret back to make it viable. Like, but I'm not sure what they could do to actually buff the things without making it. Like, if they make the repair drone insane, right?
If they made if they made the armor instant, the Raven would be too strong, I think. If they made the armor reduction instant, like Fungo used to be instant, if you could cast it like that on the out of the Raven, I think the Raven would be far too strong. Would you agree with that, Beasty?
I think they could just make it like Wings of Liberty secret missiles where they like launch instantly. There's no delay. Mm-hmm. But not like insta-fungal Wings of Liberty. I think that's stupid.
Because right now it like loads. It's like the old secret missile, so it takes a while. It's not even the fact that it's easy or difficult to dodge it. It's the fact that it takes a while for the missile to have any impact in the fight because you have to wait for it to.
But you don't realize that the missile is like 125 mana. It's not like cheap mana wise, you know. It's not. Sure. It's very expensive.
Yeah, small tweaks I think is what I would suggest. But I think we've had it with the Raven. Don't want this episode to take 3 hours.
Yes, we don't.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't.
Liberator no longer receives a side range bonus after transforming into defender mode, but will receive vision of the targeted location. Anyone thoughts on this? Trivial stuff, seems to me.
Trivial.
Cyclone. First 4 shots will fire quickly for the Cyclone's lock-on ability. New upgrade rapid fire launchers. Research from the factory tech lab and costs 150, 79 seconds. Increases the attack speed of the first 12 shots of the Cyclone's lock-on ability. So they made it less useless against air.
Yeah, but it's still useless. So
still useless.
Okay.
Like,
So go ahead, Kevin.
I feel like the only, at least in TVP, the only use it really had was with some builds you would get them to kill oracles, but as they're killing oracle openers in the next patch, I think it's going to be pretty useless. Like, we're not going to see cyclones be added in any kind of army composition. They're too bad for late game armies. They're really hard to control. They're clunky units.
We talk in
like,
TVP though, because cyclones are still.
I feel like in anything they're going to be kind of useless. It's just in TVP it's mainly a cheese unit. Like, you use it to win on 1.5 bases with. Like, you do some cyclone push, proxy a factory, and it's nice that it does more against oracle, I guess. But as they're nerfing oracle, I think oracle openers are going to be pretty much dead. So I don't know. Okay. I don't think we're going to see much use of it in TVP.
So it seems rather trivial. There's not much use in TVC for it either, I would say, right? Mechanics.
Yeah, I agree. Like, they're not gonna make cyclones versus Protoss, right? So there's no really.
I mean, that's what they have balanced. I say that Protoss will die too.
Yeah, but
that's. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, me neither. Like, I haven't actually played versus this upgrade, but like, it would have to be really good for it to make cyclones useful versus Protoss, I think.
No, I think the upgrade it's pretty good, but like as Kevin said, it's not really reliable enough to kill like carriers or Tempests, for example. It's too clunky. The unit's too hard to micro, and it dies too fast if you like lock on a carrier. Even though it dies really quick, it will you will kill like a carrier and you will lose like 6 cyclones or 7 cyclones. It's not really worth it.
Yeah, it seems like you would have to have a base number of cyclones to just transition into the upgrade rather than ever want to build cyclones because they are the best anti-air.
Yeah, exactly. Like some Terrans been trying to make the mech against Protoss work, right? And they make cyclones, but like it's just not reliable enough to kill carriers. It's not too reliable.
Got you. Next unit is gonna be a nasty one, actually. It's
Which one?
the Ghost. Starts with the cloak ability. It sucks, you say?
Yes. It's a nerf against Protoss.
it's ridiculous. I think just shows up proxy ghost. I hate it.
Yeah, they should revert it, change it back, remove Mobius Reactor, and like make cloak upgradable again. It's actually just a nerf like a real against Protoss. It's just like because now your ghost doesn't start with EMP, and there's these important fights that you need to take with like right away when you go to spawn, and you use die sometimes because you don't have EMP.
So why is this worse than the old ghost?
Because now you don't have EMP when you spawn. You need to make the upgrade. You have cloak, but cloak is useless. It's just a cheese unit now.
It is kind of a cheesy unit, sure.
So why would we want that? Like,
I mean, I don't like it personally.
They should just change it back. It's not good at all.
Okay. One thing to touch on is the cost really quickly. I really like the new cost a lot better. 100 minerals, 100 gas. I feel like Terran, especially when going bio, struggles to utilize their gas effectively, and they have excess minerals. So I didn't like the change previously to make the ghost cost more minerals than gas.
I know, but like that's ruined in the next patch. Like they nerfing it. I mean, they make it cheaper in the next patch. This patch is still the same cost, you know. Like so,
okay.
We're talking like this patch wise, it's still the same.
All right. Anyone have any other thoughts on the ghost? I'm with Papi here.
Also, like you were reading the Mobius Reactor upgrade cost, not the ghost. The ghost is 100 and 200 now. You were reading the upgrade cost by mistake, I think.
Oh yeah, you're right. So, but they changed the cost of the ghost in this patch.
In the new patch, the next patch.
Right.
Yeah, in the next one.
To make it more
cheap, a little bit
more gas and less minerals, I think, right?
Yeah.
Which I like. I think that's a change. Okay. Next, unless anyone wants
you should ask Kevin about this. What he thinks about the ghost repeat.
What do you think about the ghost, Kevin?
About the ghost? I don't know. I don't really see a lot of ghosts. Most of my games are won before the 7-minute mark, my friend.
Oracle's doing work.
Ghosts don't really do a lot. Like Papi said, usually the reason you get Ghost is either to defend some kind of weird charge with Archon timing, which we see a lot now, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Or you do it because the game is going a lot longer, and then they're kind of vital to have quickly. Because normally when Terran is transitioning into Ghost, they can't be that aggressive on the map anymore. So the moment Terran starts transitioning into Ghost, TOS has an opportunity to attack, and that's where the Ghosts kind of need their energy for. So I think
that the Ghost change overall is a nerf against Protoss because EMP is the primary ability, and I think it's a cheesy buff against Zerg where you can sneak in with some ghosts because EMP isn't as relevant as Sniper Cloak is against Zerg.
Sure.
Okay, so Factory Tech Lab, new upgrade smart servos, cost 150 minerals, 150 gas, allows Hellions, Hellbats, Vikings, and Thors to transform quickly between combat modes. Beasty?
I think it's a pretty cool upgrade. It has a lot of use in TVZ specifically. TVT, not so much when you play mech for Hellbats, and then TVP, if you're brave enough to go mech, then, I think overall for Hellbats, it has the most use. For Vikings, honestly, maybe when you're fighting Protoss and you kill Colossus and then you want to land, but are you really going to get that upgrade just for that? Probably not.
Yeah, difficult to foresee.
And then for Thors, it's kind of like a plus. You never get in a situation where you're like, oh, I need that 0.5 second transformation from AoE attack to single target, So the only real thing this is used for is the Hellions into Hellbats, which I think is quite good. Like I said, especially in Zerg.
Yeah, I think it's
something that you always want to get.
Maybe it's an attack. Yeah, exactly. I think it's the kind of upgrade that you would get when you're splitting the map or just going mech and just to have the upgrade because you don't know whether or not you're gonna need to use it on Thors or Vikings, and it's probably gonna be useful with Hellions or Hellbats, right? So if you have the money to spare, you probably get it just to find those situations that are difficult to foresee otherwise.
Yeah, especially after the next patch.
Mm-hmm. What's the
why? To be even better.
It's a little bit cheaper.
They're gonna reduce to 75.
Oh, nice, cool. Okay.
No complaints here. I think it's a very good upgrade, especially for Hellions. There's these situations that you need, for example, to defend, and you make a Hellbats, right? And then, for example, the Hydras are retreating. you can instantly make them Hellions again and chase Hydras, for example. It's just a good upgrade overall.
Okay, let's skip the Marauders. Projectiles now have a blue trail. That's awesome. Okay, Widow Mines.
Wow.
Widow Mines are now revealed while Sentinel Missile is on cooldown. This is a controversial change.
It's terrible.
Brilliant.
Preach it, Papi. Preach it.
It's just bad, man. Like, you just kill the mine for no reason. It's just bad. Like, bad.
Yeah.
That's like, there's been like 20 billion explanations why it's bad. It's just bad. You make the mine useless for no reason. That's my explanation.
Okay,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
reason I think is new players, right? It's not frustrate entry level players. I don't think that the mine needed a buff, or even just lower level players, right? I don't think the mine needed a buff or a nerf. I think it was fine as it was. It's been around for a long time, and the problem that this creates at a higher level is that it allows, I think, Protoss to get away with, say, delaying a robo for much longer, or things of that nature. In terms of Zerg, it's much worse for the Terran to like leave mines randomly out on the map. It's just, it just makes the mine a lot worse, I think. So you're just hoping for that burst damage.
I had an idea.
What is it?
I had an idea. What if, when it shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very visible that it's there, but you can't kill it unless you have detection. I don't see what's the problem with that.
I mean, that's what it was before, right?
No, it wasn't very visible.
It wasn't very visible. You make it very visible now.
Yeah, but only after it shots. So
After
it's
it
very
shoots.
obvious there's something there, but you still need the detection.
Maybe
And
it
then-
glows or something.
What?
Maybe it like glows on the ground or something.
Yeah, something like, you just make it very visible. That will help like the new players or whatever. But like, you just kill the mine for no reason. Like, by making this change, you kill the mine, and it's very important right now, especially against Protoss, because the charge slot Archon style with upgrades are very strong right now. Because Chronos, but that's a topic of the game. Went on there.
You know what I think they could also do? So there's like a couple of paths they can take. They either need to completely revert it, or they need to give the mine some kind of other buff. Whether that is build time, cost, or a combination of the things. I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea, because one of the things that having the mine review did do is that it gave Protoss some extra openers against Terran, which is quite welcome after playing Oracle for the past 1.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Just opening Blink later row has actually been pretty fun. You get to poke a bit with Blink Stalkers. Of course, that's all very powerful right now, but I feel like there are ways in which you can tweak the mine in such a way that the early game changes. The early game Widow Mine Harass won't be as impactful anymore, but investing in Widow Mines will be a lot less. So just make the mine very cheap or something like that.
What's the cost, like
build
75 right now?
75-25. But
75,
you can make the
25,
cost.
50,
You can make the cost
25?
a lot less. Yeah, something like that, and also make it build a lot faster. That's also an issue.
Yeah,
I
it
think.
takes very long time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if you could do something with
I don't
that,
know
if
about
you can
building
tweak
faster
those
though, because it
dials.
can also be built from reactors. I feel like just that would be nasty
Yeah.
to make. Pump
Well, it
out
takes-
reactor
Yeah, but I
mines.
mean, you can at least try tweaking those dials.
Yeah, definitely.
If they don't want to revert the change, I think that's always an option,
Mhm.
because right now the mine is in such a place that it's
It's just
kind
bad.
of useless.
Yeah, I think
it's-
that's the problem. Is that they made the change, nerfed the mine, and it was a straight up nerf to a unit that didn't need a straight up nerf. I understand the reasoning, make it less frustrating or whatever. But yeah,
I mean,
it
why
needs a slight buff maybe.
I don't understand the concept, but like, I don't see they doing the same concept with every single unit. Like, Mr. Papa Ultra, you show up and you lose. The Infestor is borrowed and you can see it and kills your army from behind.
I mean, the Infestor they're changing. Ultras they have nerfed in the past, right? The Disruptor they nerfed to the ground, and now that they fixed it somewhat. They fixed it a lot, actually.
Do you know that the Disruptor is better now?
Yeah, we'll get into that. We're entering Protoss land now, so
good.
let's go into that. Mothership core removed.
Hell yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Does anyone not love it?
Yeah, fuck
Everyone fucking loves it. Great. Chrono boost costs 50 energy and causes the structure to operate 100% faster for 10 seconds. Papi.
This is broken, man.
Okay, preach it, man.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Like I'm not a Protoss player, but even Protoss players know this need a nerf. But I don't know how you nerf it. Like I don't know exactly how to tweak it. I'm not a Protoss
I mean,
player.
if you tweak the values, if it was broken, right, you could just tweak it from 100% to 75%. That would be a way to tweak it, to tweak the values.
Well, like I don't know. Like I don't know exactly how you need to fix it, but it needs to fix somehow.
What do you think, Kevin?
Numbers.
What don't you like about it, Puppy? Don't you like the early oracles?
No, I don't like that you have 3-3 when I have 1-1. That's what I don't like. It's
Yeah,
not
so
fair.
then there's nothing really that you can like. You just need saw it then. Nothing you can change in the ability.
There is
that's
a change. There is a change that I think I saw proposed on Reddit or somewhere. What about just making it so that instead of so that it provides the same amount of speed but over a longer or the same amount of but over a longer time, right?
Like, would it matter for upgrades?
50% for 20 seconds.
Exactly. So for upgrades it would be the same, right? Your upgrades would finish at the same time, but you wouldn't be able to get the Oracle as quickly, right? Like you wouldn't be able to.
Who cares about the Oracle? Only noobs die to Oracle. The problem is the upgrades and the Stalkers, not really the Oracle.
Well, the
Upgrades
Stalkers,
and the
any units would benefit or take a hit from the Chrono Boost taking longer.
But the main problem is the upgrades, not really the Oracle.
That could only be fixed by, I think, lowering the 100% operation to a lower percentage.
They need to do that because it's broken right now. You see,
there's other approaches to it.
My man innovation is losing to chance in Korea. What's up with that?
Yeah, what's up with that?
What's up with that, innovation is losing to chance.
Defend your race, Kevin.
I mean, he knows.
Like, I don't know what
have you no defense?
It's like saying like random ladder matches means nothing.
What about me losing to Scarlet Protoss? I never lost to Scarlet Protoss.
She
and I was
like,
yeah.
She good.
Yeah, but the issue when you nerf Chrono Boost completely, I think early things that Terran can do will be very hard without Mothership Core. For example, something like 2 racks, the one that was popular against Zerg. If you can't get a Stalker out fast enough, that kind of shit will be very hard to deal with. So if you nerf Chrono Boost, I think you will need to have gateway units be out a little faster. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard to not die against a lot of early game stuff. Because Chrono Boost is very, very necessary to not die against any race actually early game. So you have to be quite careful with that.
It's a delicate balance. Now, there are other things that change. You know, if we change different other things about Protoss, then it might all be fine even for innovation, Papi. So
then what about making upgrades more expensive then?
What do you think about that, Kevin?
Sorry?
What if upgrades were a little bit more expensive?
Yeah, sure.
Or actually, you could just make upgrades take longer, right?
Yeah, that works too.
That works. If the issue is that upgrades are finishing too fast, then just make upgrades take a percentage of time longer and keep Chrono Boost the same. Okay. Nexus now has energy 200 maximum, and Nexus starting energy is 50. Mass recall ability. Okay, let's talk about mass recall. Recalls units owned by the player in target area to the Nexus. 50 energy cost, warp out time 3.6 seconds, warp in duration 0.4 seconds, and 130 second global cooldown, which is a pretty long cooldown. Kevin, what do you think of this? Have you been using it a lot?
Yeah, but it's very useful in base, right? Like extremely useful. But it's mainly useful against Terran and Protoss. It kind of sucks against Zerg because it can only really be used in late game situation only if the Zerg is sleeping.
What about doing things like the Hasu ops, like just where, or even just when you take say a fast start with 3 gateways or 4 gateways, you're making those units anyway, and then you have the freedom to move out. But my point is that whatever units you're making, right, have the freedom to move out and pressure the Zerg into making units, if not committing to the fight. So I see a lot of Protoss making, like, say, sentries, so that, you know, you can secure the exit, but it forcing units out of the Zerg can be a good thing, I think.
Yeah, the problem is once you're forcing units out early, it's mainly gonna be links, and you would need to have sentries, because sentries are the only units that can
secure
ensure a safe escape, because otherwise you're just gonna die while recalling. And if you're building sentries early on, so we're talking before the 6-minute mark, if you want to force units, then you're not opening Oracle. And if you're not opening Oracle, and it's not DT, you already lost the game against Zerg most of the time.
So could it be map dependent then? If you could find a map where, you know, there's more chokes and thus you need less sentries to make this work?
It's... I tried a lot. I actually did. I was very hopeful for this as well. I was like, mate, I'm gonna recall all over the place. Gotta stand on top of ramps, defend them. But truth to be told, like, Queens are very good at defending things, and so are Lynx. And I don't know. I feel like anything that isn't an Oracle opening or a DT drop opening is kind of useless against Zerg.
You want to know what Kiwikaki was doing? That was kind of nasty. You know Kiwikaki? He's far before your time, but he's actually been playing a little bit. So I play against him and TT1, they Archon, you know, and I play against them and they beat me every time when they Archon. And Kiwikaki has some crazy strategies, and one of them is he opens with many Zealots and just like walks them across the map, you know, starts attacking you, then just recalls and goes eventually for a charge slot timing. So it forces out units so early, it's really difficult to, you know, keep up in economy, and then the charge slot timing is really powerful. You know, I think there's avenues to be explored, is my point.
There might be. I tried a lot, but...
What do you say? What?
I think it needs to be nerfed. The warping duration is too short. They should like take out
3.6 is a lot.
No, like they should take the make it take less time to recall, put more time to recalling in the Nexus. You know what I mean?
Yeah, now they like show up instantly.
It should not be.
That's a problem.
It's a really big problem TVP when it shows instantly. Like you just make dropping almost not really worth it. You're gonna lose your units.
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
It's not like you have enough time to snipe the Nexus anyway, right? 4 seconds is enough to snipe the Nexus or anything. So
let's say I drop in, right? And normally you scan, and you have to boost to drop in, right? So you drop, and let's say he was attacking my third. He just backs out of my side and recalls back, and even though I see the Nexus glowing, right? Since I don't have a boost anymore, it's not enough time to like run back, so everything is gonna die. So it makes drop like a lot weaker than I thought it would have been, just because it's recall. So I think it should take longer to warp in, but maybe shorter to like warp out. So like I don't know, 2 seconds to warp out and 2 seconds to warp in, something like that. I don't know.
I really hope they don't nerf or buff, I guess, the time it takes to warp out, because it's very important for CVP, I think. Like before this patch, they would like, as soon as you got a good fight with like Fungal and Parasitic Bomb, they would just recall out instantly. And like you would have wasted all your mana and all your units that you lost to take the fight. And like but like now they can't do that anymore, right? With this recall, because they still lose a lot, even if they recall right away.
So it seems like we have some conflicting opinions for the most part. Kevin doesn't find the recall that useful, aside from base trades.
Against Terran. Against Terran it's good.
Even outside of base trades?
Yeah, against drops it's nice.
Okay.
I think that 4 seconds is plenty of time though to load up if you immediately see it.
Warping is 0.4 seconds. So as soon as you see the Nexus, like the Nexus glowing, it's 3.6, right?
No, that's not how it works.
Yeah,
you don't have 0.4 seconds. You have a little more time.
Okay, but like you already boosted, you can't get away. You as soon as you warp in, you can blink. You realize that? You don't have time. You don't have time to like pick it up and.
What I want to know is what TY thinks, Papi.
He thinks it's broken. Everything.
All right.
This spell it should be like it should take longer to warp in.
I think like even if they did like 1 second, that would be good, you know.
Yeah, it should take longer. It's too fast.
I think instead of it being like 4 seconds to warp out and like instant warp in, it should be like 3-3.
Yeah. Or 2.5, 2.5, right?
2.5, 2.5, yeah. Exactly. Because for Zerg, like sort of said, for Zerg it's the warping out what's important, but for TVP Terran, you don't care because you're always in base trade when that happens. It's not like he's gonna fight you and he's gonna recall mid-fight, you know. It's always in the base trade.
So this would be a buff. It would be a buff for Zerg and a nerf to the ability for or against Terran, right? Which is kind of what seems to be a good middle ground for Protoss. And
shouldn't there be like a middle ground? Because like right now it's useless against Terran. That's what Kevin says, but it's fucking strong against Terran.
Right. That's what we're proposing. Yeah.
Yeah, so there should be like a middle ground, but warping is too short. It's
Yeah,
too
so,
easy to defend.
so yeah, just splitting the warping time and the warp out time instead of putting it all on one side would be the way to go about that.
A middle ground.
Okay. New defensive structure. Oof. Shield battery. Recharges the shields of nearby friendly units. Warp them by probes. Requires a cybernetics core, $75. About to be 100. 20 whatever 200 shields, 200 HP. Restores a shield of a friendly unit within 6 range. Shields restore super fucking fast is what that means. And auto casts affects units and photon cannons only, so no other buildings than photon cannons. And this is kind of the fix to lack of mothership core defensively for Protoss, so that they're able to take bases. They're able to do their thing. I really like the shield battery. Does anyone have any strong thoughts about it?
Not really. I think it's a good replacement for the mothership.
Do we feel like
do we feel like more expensive?
You like that? Let's talk about that then. Do we feel like the change in cost is warranted?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think it was a bit too easy to just put on like 5 shield batteries and then be super safe.
Yeah, very cheap.
Like it's a bit too cheap.
Kevin?
Maybe Kevin has something else to say about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Shield battery is very cheap, very nice. I feel like
very needed too, though, right?
Sorry.
Very necessary too, though.
Oh, very necessary. Like without it, we would die every single game.
Which is the scary part in nerfing the shield battery for me, is that it will, I think, maybe promote more all-in play, which is already something that Protoss seems to struggle with against Zerg.
Yeah.
So, are you concerned about the change?
Not really. Okay, so the thing is, I think in PvZ the only real viable build is Oracle. If someone knows that I'm gonna play DT, they should always be able to win with an all-in. Like, I can't defend without Mothership Core. I think it's impossible. So the only way you can play DT drop, or I think you might be able to play some Adept builds, but even that I think might just die against some all-ins without Mothership Core. So Oracle should be the only thing viable, and I think you can hold most all-ins with that.
What about Stalkers and shield batteries? They're not good enough?
Like, what would you open?
I don't know, Stalkers and shield batteries.
Yeah, but like what tech structure?
Blink eventually, I suppose, you could go for. You could go into Blink Disruptors, you could go into...
I'm really not a fan of just opening Stalker. Gateway units.
My point is, you said impossible, right? Like, I don't like saying impossible to the many people who might watch this and be like, oh, I guess I have to open only Oracle. Then I'd like to encourage them to explore, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. We're encouraging you to explore. Unless you're in the Grandmaster League, then Oracle or die trying.
I think it's too early to make that type of statement.
Rickard, back me up.
I'm with Kevin here. I think like it really seems like, especially like some like Lingbane, Queen drop all-ins and stuff like that. It seems extremely difficult to hold, even with Oracles. So
difficult is kind of the name of the game, though, right?
You can. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Let me go, Rickard.
Yeah.
You can go Stalker stuff, like you can defend shit with it, but it's just a garbage opener. So you would only open like Stalkers to defend stuff, hoping that he all-ins into you. But I mean, that's a shit game plan.
Sure. Yeah.
That's like opening double factory tank in TVP.
Unless you can find a way to make them work, right? Like, or a way to scout them or to know that the aggression's coming.
Some people like Solar say they should make it cost a little bit of gas. What do you think about that, Connie?
No. I think a lot of early shit would be too hard to stop with it.
Yeah.
I mean,
like
I think
I don't like.
I think 75 is too little, but a little bit more, like 100 should be okay.
So what is the change attributed to, though? Why was it so strong that it needed to cost more?
Well,
who was complaining?
I think they were too easy to build, you know?
Okay, yeah.
I think one of the things that people wanted with the shield battery is for Protoss to think about their defense.
Make decisions, sure.
Yeah, and the shield battery didn't really
encourage that.
Feel like that.
Make a bunch of those too cheap.
You could throw like 4 down for the price of 2 cannons, and you'd have a base covered. Usually you do that with 2 cannons anyway, so it feels. I don't know. I don't really mind the change too much, honestly. Like 25 minerals.
But is 25 minerals gonna make you think where you're gonna put it?
I think if you're making 4, it's $100 if you're making 4 of them, right? $100.
I think it's a bit more important, at least.
Yeah.
A little bit more. It's like,
Well,
I mean, anything that's gonna have such a small increase, like it doesn't matter a lot, but I think it's gonna matter a little bit at least.
what about keeping the same price with removing a little bit of mana when it spawns? So that way you don't promote like. You know, for example, the Void Raid all-in against Terran, it's really, really hard to stop. Because Shield Battery or Immortal Liquid.
The problem is if you remove the mana with spawning, is that it's just not gonna do what it's used for, and that's for defending stuff. I think a better solution for that kind of stuff might be to lower the rate at which it heals, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah, we tried it with the Banings, right? And the Archon.
Yeah. Archons don't die if you if you send
the Banings like 2 by 2.
That's very sick.
Yeah, it has certain other weaknesses though, like it can only heal 1 unit at a time. A lot of people don't seem to realize that right off the bat.
Yeah.
Right. So you know, if you're defending with more than 1 unit, and you know, you can break that pretty easily.
You can also target them if there's only 1 or 2.
That's a good point. So
there's some ways around it, but yeah, there is some all-ins which are powerful. Once again, mainly against Terran. It just seems like Terran really got shafted with every change, which seems in theory a good design change. So everyone's like, all right, let's remove the mothership core. Then we get back the shield battery, which possibly might be even better against Terran than the mothership core was. Of course, pile and rush and stuff is gone, but shield battery has insane potential for pushes. Is insane at defense against Terran as well, especially against 1 or 2 medevac drops. If you have like a cannon and 2 shield batteries, you're good for quite some time actually. Of course, you were that before as well with a mothership core, but now you can have that in multiple bases. So I feel like a lot of the things were intended to do well against Zerg or do well in PvP, and they don't do as well in especially PvP. Shield batteries have lack some of the power that the mothership core had, but against Terran it just seems like everything just got very good.
What do you think about shield battery out healing Cyclone and Banshee DPS? Do you think that's something that needs to be fixed, or is it just like, oh, it is how it is?
The problem with that is the moment you don't have that anymore, like the kind of early proxy factory stuff will be super hard to stop, I think. There's it's just that's I think that's the issue when you remove the mothership core. Like, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that it's a very delicate balance. Like, the thing that I wish they would do a bit more is that they kind of acknowledge that we're still in the testing phase, even though it's live, and that they would just throw out a lot of patches on the balanced test map as we have it anyway.
I think they've been a lot faster than ever before at addressing concerns and and making changes.
But I feel like, you know, it's common knowledge that when there's chaos and panic, it's very easy to make big changes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what usually happens when there's like a big oil spill, bam, everyone gets fired. They kind of got to do it like this as well. They have a big issue right now in PvT, and they should use it to address some of the issues which have been there for some time. And they're doing that right now with the Oracle, which I think is very smart. Oracle has been very bothersome for Terran for a very long time. And there's not a single Protoss in the world right now that's complaining about the Oracle nerf. It's like, well, we kind of have to. And this is, I feel like they should do it with more things. Now that there's like, people really have the willingness to change, they should just throw in like some crazy changes, even if they don't work out. WCS doesn't start for another, 1.5, 2 months. GSL starts at the end of the year. We at least have a month and a half more to test stuff. Like, we should really use it wisely, because for the rest of the year, you're gonna ruin people's like careers if the game isn't balanced.
Surely. All right. I think we've stayed on this topic a lot, and I think we all seem to kind of like the design and what the shield battery does, and the removal of the mothership core. Maybe a little bit more tweaking that can be done. A little bit of tweaking is being done, so that's great. And yeah, I think it's important maybe to acknowledge that we are in a phase that is likely to see continuous change and balancing and tweaking. And I think that they are doing that anyway better than they have done it before, maybe ever before. The Disruptor. No. Purificate the Disruptor. So the Disruptor was one of these units that had a design change that in principle I did not like initially, because what they did was they removed, in my opinion, one of the strongest units in terms of wow moments, in terms of impact. I really liked how every time a Disruptor shot fired in the past, it was like, holy shit, is it gonna hit? Like, is this gonna change the game? And that tension, that suspense was something that I really loved about the Disruptor. And then they made it shit, and now it's a little bit better in that maybe it's even better than the old Disruptor. Okay, and
it is better.
Yeah, and we'll talk about why now. The Purification Nova will detonate when in contact with an enemy unit. But the radius that it has an internal radius essentially that triggers in contact with the unit, but the AoE is much larger than that internal radius. So what that does in comparison to the old Disruptor is that you can micro against it in a different way, which is cool, right? You can throw units at the Disruptor coming forward to detonate it and prevent damage from your army. Whereas before you couldn't. But what it does for Terran, or for Protoss rather, is that I think you can be a lot more careless in massing Disruptors. You can have more Disruptors be more effective than before, because you just need to shoot them in a general direction rather than shoot them and then, be mindful of where they're gonna end up landing a little bit more. So how do we feel about the Disruptor? Kevin?
Oh, I can start.
Sure, you're the Protoss.
It changed PvP for the worse. It's a change in PvT.
Why did it change for the worse?
PvP is insane. I'm not sure if it's all Disruptor, but PvP is absolutely mental right now.
That sounds
if you get
great.
like nah, it's not. You get like the 15 Disruptor, and the guys are just shooting balls like a madman at each other.
I haven't actually seen that, but that's what I anticipate will happen with this type of change. Yeah.
No,
because what happened with the previous Disruptor is that if you made more than like 2 or 3 Disruptors, it was too difficult to control, right? You just can't control that much and control your army at the same time.
In PvP, the style was pretty much that. The Phoenix lift killed it pretty much. Yeah. Right now, what happens is, if you see that it's Disruptor, most of the time you can kill. But if you don't see it's Disruptor and you're going Charge Lot Archon, man, you're in for a fucking ride. Because once you arrive at this guy's base, he's gonna have 6 Disruptors, and the cooldown is like 12 seconds. So he shoots one every 2 seconds. You can't lift him with Phoenix, because the moment it hits something, it explodes. It's really, really sick.
What do you mean you can't hit them with Phoenix because it explodes?
You can't if you can't react in time with your Phoenix lift. It's just impossible. You need to have you need to be able to predict which one he's going to use to shoot. And you can't just fly over a Protoss army with your Phoenixes all the time, because then Stalkers. What you used to do is you kind of hide the Phoenixes back. Then when Disruptor shoots, you fly over and pick up the Disruptor that was
before the ball goes off.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
It was timed, so you could time it. But now the timing is as soon as it hits a unit.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
So that's a bit weird. But in general, I still feel like Charge Archon is the most played style. Then when we move to PvZ, I feel like the unit is kind of garbage, but it's very weird, because there's games where it goes very well, but it might just be because
it has to do with it probably has to do with the Zerg unit composition. So if the Zerg is adding Zerglings into his army and not a lot of Zerglings, it's probably gonna be very difficult to use it effectively. If the Zerg is using multiple dimensions of units, with different ranges, it's not going to be as effective. If the Zerg is using all units that have pretty much the same range, then that's going to be where the Disruptor is most effective, right? So if you're going up against pure Hydras or a lot of Banelings or a lot of Roaches, then you might get some insane hits.
Yeah, it's It's very weird because some fights it feels just once you get the big numbers against Zerg, it's actually insane. But if you have like 4 or 5 disruptors, they're kind of useless because there's always got to be enough Zerglings to tank. But if you get like 15 disruptors, if the Zerg allows that, yeah, they lose the game. Like, but to be fair, if I get 15 high Templars,
that is one thing that I'm concerned about with the new Disruptor is the massing of Disruptors has been made available, whereas before it wasn't. Do you prefer this Disruptor to the old one? Do you think the old one was that it needed to change, that it needed to?
I'm not sure. It's kind of a different unit now.
Yeah.
I would prefer it for the game if it was the way it was in the old one, for sure.
I think so, for me too.
More time to respond for people. I thought the splitting against Disruptors that Terrans were doing was very fun to watch.
Yeah.
I thought what the Zergs were, well, Zergs were always a bit worse at splitting, of course, but it was always fun to see them attempt it.
And it's because if it's off creep, we're gonna look like clowns no matter what, man. It's like
exactly.
Yeah.
And then against Protoss, I really enjoyed Blink Stalker Disruptor. Like, you could blink in. Right now, if you see a Disruptor fire and you think it's gonna be terrible for you, you blink in, you're just gonna lose 6 Stalkers anyway. So, because it explodes the moment your Stalkers blink forward. The only cool thing is that you can blink individual Stalkers in
That's pretty cool.
You have to, like, you need to be very on point, and you can do this well.
That is some
for,
really
like,
cool counter micro, yeah.
Yeah, you can do it well for 10 minutes. You fuck up once, you lose the game. Oof. And a lot of these fights where this happens are like they end immediately, those fights, because the guy that is jumping in the Stalkers, he wants the fight to end as fast as possible, or is going to be sending Stalkers till they're dead for the rest of time. So and we forgot to mention against Terran, like the unit's very good. Oh, very good.
Yeah,
very good Kenny.
Terran clumps up a lot. I guess you can still stim one Marine forward and shit like that, but that's even way harder than with Stalkers.
I haven't seen it used too much in like big compositions. Most of the time that I have seen it and that I used it myself is like more either early game, not really all-ins, but heavy pressures of like 3 base or 2 base, or even stuff like Disruptor drop I've been doing a bit, because the cooldown is so little and you have no time to split. It's very rough for the Terran to deal with. If the Terran isn't on point,
kind of like
he's
a
gonna
sieging
lose
unit.
A lot of shit. Yeah, except he
flies everywhere.
And yeah, flies in the prism with 6 pickup range, so good luck.
Got you. Does anyone else have any thoughts on the Disruptor?
I think it should be back to what it was before.
I like the old one too.
Anyone it's too powerful.
Like, I know I talked to you about this, Catz, before, but what if they made the Disruptor like the old, they reverted to the old one, right? And then they made it so the shot doesn't have the unit walking, you know? So that the shot can't go to the middle of the clump of the units, you know? So it can only go to the edge. What do you think about that? Like, me personally, I don't care as much about the Disruptor.
I don't understand. I'm not sure what you're...
It cannot go through units anymore. So it wouldn't explode on impact, but it would get stuck on the units.
Yeah. Like the units would block it, you know?
That would make it much worse than the old one, though. And the thing is, it would make it worse than the old one, and the old one... Yeah, exactly. The old one wasn't broken.
But like what they wanted to do was to like remove the game-ending shots, right?
But in response, what you get is perhaps an even higher potential to end the game with less skill or actions required from the Protoss, right? Because they're just throwing the Disruptors into an army.
And more
nice thinking, Rickard.
Yeah. Well, at least I tried.
I think they should just put it as back as it was. This is like a complete buff for no reason against her.
It's a buff that just makes it worse. I think the interactions with the Disruptor. It's still much better.
There's no time to split, man. Like realistically, like let's say he drops next to my little close to my army, you shoot the ball. I don't have enough time to split that. It's almost impossible. It's obviously many scenarios. Like if it comes from far, it's very easy to split, right? Or when they do Disruptor drop, which is now it's a lot stronger because it's like it costs. No, it doesn't cost less, but it shoots more times because the delays cooldown is shorter. It becomes like a really hard to split. And for example, in mineral lines, there's no way you're gonna split like if it drops in your mineral line, right? How are you gonna split that? It's almost impossible. I just feel this. Yeah. It should be back to what it was before. But the one before was fine. This one is too, I think.
I agree. Beasty, any thoughts, or should we move on?
No, we can move on.
Okay. Observer, new ability, surveillance mode, increases vision by 25% and immobilizes the observer. This is simplifying, I think, mechanics for Protoss. It's because you usually have static observers a lot of the time as Protoss, so now they're rewarding you for that and allowing you to use F2 a little bit more if you're, you know, if that's your jam. It's certainly my jam. So
it's also used for when you're like attacking into lurkers or something like that, and you don't have oracles to be able to get a bit more vision without putting the observer at risk of getting sniped.
Yeah, that is very true. So I like this change. Does anyone dislike this change?
I think it's a good change, but I heard there's a bug with it. Like when you do this mod, it becomes a lot more harder to watch for some reason. I heard that.
Harder to spot?
Yeah, harder to spot.
It seems that way.
Well, that should be changed.
Doesn't it go higher when it transforms?
I thought you actually could see like a sprinkling animation on the...
No, it's very hard to see it like when it's on the
sprinkling animation. That would be great.
Yeah,
It reveals itself.
Like, a little. It's a little. Yeah.
Wait, I can see the sprinkling animation when you do it?
Yeah, that's what the guy told me.
That would be, that would be something else. That would be fantastic.
It's
I hardly.
No, I think it's just thinner. Like when it sieges up, it becomes like smaller. It's harder to see.
That might be it. It's something. Okay. High Templar, new weapon, Psyblast. Cool. Damage 4, cool. Weapon, cool. I don't think anyone cares about that. It's cool, right?
Nope.
Okay. Colossus. Colossus have made a resurgence as of late, so this one's a good one. Thermal lance base range increased from 6 to 7. Thermal lance damage changed from 12 to 10, plus 5 against light, so a significant buff against light units, which, you know, a lot of Zerg and Terran units are. Protoss ground weapon upgrades will add +1 to the base damage and +1 to light. I'm not sure, is 12 the threshold where it added 2 before per upgrade, or did it just add 1 per upgrade before? Do you know, Kevin?
In Wings it was 2. But
in Wings
it was 2, I think.
Okay, so this is not really much of a change other than, yeah. Then extended thermal lance cost reduced from 200 to 150. That's good. Range increased from thermal lance to +2 to from +2 to +2 instead of +3. So they just made the base range a little bit better and the upgrade a little bit worse, which is overall better for the Colossus. So general thoughts. Let's start with Resident Protoss.
Yeah, seems alright. I like that the Colossus is back. Missed the unit.
It was trash for the longest time.
Against Zerg it was trash. It was alright against Terran. Once again, this change changed the matchup as we knew it.
Nice.
It's very good against Terran, actually.
Do you agree with that, Beasty?
I mean, a lot more people open like Blink and like into Colossus or just straight up Colossus. But honestly, like what I've been facing the most is just Blink into fast 3 base and mass ground, like mass gateway style with double forge. So honestly, like it is a buff, and I do see people use it more, but I still see gateway compositions more in the current meta. But I think what I do like as someone that like watches tournaments, I think it's pretty cool to see it against Zerg once again.
It happens a lot.
Because against Zerg, yeah, and I think that's cool because today in WSG, spoiler alert, Showtime did like a lot of different openers, like with Colossus, with Disruptors, you know, mass gateway styles, and I think that was pretty cool. Because before I felt like, you know, you saw like one thing over and over, and now it's
I think that this is particularly important and good for Protoss, because I've always felt like the race has an identity of having some of its strengths in the tech paths that it has. I feel like, right? So if it's more diverse, I think the race is just way more fun to watch, to play, and it works in terms of encouraging, I think, new Protoss players, which is something that we've had a little bit of a drought. Is drought the right word?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
It's just more fun to play.
Mechanics. Do you like the changes to Colossus as a Zerg?
I mean, no. But, I don't mind it. Like, It feels like not too strong. It's
yeah, I think it's
and
a
I've
unit
seen,
that
like,
they can use. It's
yeah, and like right now I feel like almost every Protoss in Europe has a different style. Like
that's fantastic.
before, like last patch, I could not really tell if I was playing like Harstem or Showtime or Nib or DNS sometimes. But like this patch, I can almost always tell whom I'm playing, even if they're on a barcode, you know.
That's really
just
awesome.
by their style.
That's great. So
yeah,
I like it. Let's move on a little bit quicker because we've been going for a while. I know mechanics is really late for him.
Yeah,
it's all good.
For all of you actually. Carrier interceptor cost increased from 10 to 15. What do we think about this? I mean, 10 was really cheap, but the carrier seems to have received other indirect buffs and direct buffs through time. Do we care? Not care?
not care.
I think they could even make it more expensive, but yeah.
Leave me alone.
Yeah, but like now,
Zerg
with the
late
new
game good
Infestor.
enough already. Oh, okay.
But we don't know if the next patch with the Infestor nerf how it's gonna be, but yeah.
That's true. I mean, the carrier has received a lot of indirect nerfs through time, right? Like first, say against Zerg, the Corruptors with better shooting. Now we have the super infested Terrans. The Fungal is a little bit better. The Viper arguably could be even a little bit better against carriers if you don't overcommit to them. So yeah, this is another little change to the carrier. It's just all discouraging to make that type of death ball, which I think is a good thing.
Like I wouldn't mind if they nerfed infested Terrans and Broodlords a bit, and then they nerfed the carriers as well, just to because now the carriers needs to be strong, otherwise Protoss can't win versus Broodlord Infestor, right? But without Broodlord Infestor, Zerg can't win versus the ground army, or without Broodlords, I guess, like in the late game.
Balance will be restored.
I really think that would be a good idea. I always been against like stuff like, oh, let me camp to master. I think that's very boring. Like no matter what race, like I don't know, let's say mass battle cruiser, mass Broodlord, mass carrier.
Yeah.
It's just boring. It should be like try to nerf play styles like that, I think.
Yeah. So like if they nerf both the Broodlord Infestor and the Skytoss, I wouldn't mind so much.
All right. Stalkers. Ooh, big one.
Ooh, hero.
Particle Disruptor's weapon damage changed from 10 plus 4 to armor to 15 plus 6 to armor. Weapon speed changed from 1 to 1.54 and plus 2 base damage per level of Protoss ground weapon upgrades, whereas before it was probably plus 1. So it's a buff I think most people or everyone could agree with. Walk us through what it changes, Kevin, for you.
Yeah, walk us through.
What does it change?
Yeah.
Makes Blink Stalker openings a bit better against Terran. Makes Stalkers in general a bit better against everything, every single race. It's nice to have Blink Stalker openings back against Terran in general. Feels very nice. Against Zerg, it makes Stalker Colossus a bit more viable. Even though DPS remains relatively similar, the first shot, especially against Zerg, is super important. That's a bit less against Terran, but against Zerg, there's a lot less of direct engagements when you're playing Sentry, Stalker, Colossus, and there's a lot of pulling back, having 1 or 2 shots left and right.
I think that's really good point that you're bringing up. I'm sorry, I wanna so the thing is, the first shot is important, especially against Zerg, because I think Zerg has a lot of melee units as well, which means that there's a cost for Zerg to engage with. Sort of was touching on this earlier when we were going over the recall mechanics, right? When you're engaging into an army that's about to recall, the Zerg basically has to pay taxes because it doesn't get to attack until it gets in range, right? So for Zerglings or roaches, melee units or very short range units, the first shot is gonna be a great deal of taxes. And with +2, you can actually kill Zerglings now in 2 shots with Stalkers too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. +1 for Colossus to one-shot them.
Nasty, really. Didn't know that. That's nasty. Okay, anyone else on this? Or Kevin, I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, I was finished.
Okay.
So you know how the skins? Have you seen the skins of Protoss? You can tell if they're immortals or stalkers, right? You seen this problem? So when I see a bunch of units, I think they're all immortals now, and they blink.
That's nasty.
Yeah, I think TVP, like, I think Stalkers are just a bit too much right now. Like, the buff was enormous, and if you compare the stats, I call them mini immortals with Blink. And I also see a lot of Protosses skip immortals because they just make more Stalkers instead. And I think there's something wrong with that.
That could be nasty. I feel like that could be done in PvC as well, because we've seen that in the past where mass stalkers are prevalent. Like mass stalkers with, say, some sentries could be pretty nasty. So something to keep an eye on, I think, as
like
things develop.
They out-trade Bio in the early game with Blink, and I think the biggest issue is the shield battery plus the Stalker. I don't think like one or the other is Imba, but together they kind of deny any Terran harass and pushes early on. So it's also the same thing if you try to like proxy Cyclones. The Stalkers just absolutely demolish them because
you know what I would love to see? What about a Protoss like Blink Stalker all in, but you build like 2 or 3 shield batteries behind, so you just blink to heal back and then rejoin the fight?
Just stop. Just no.
That could be nasty. Can you do that, Kevin?
Sorry,
what you do is you go for a Stalker all in, Blink Stalker all in, right? Against Terran. But then behind your all in, you have like one pylon with 2 or 3 shield batteries, so you blink back to it to heal.
That shit's happening already, Catz.
Nice, really?
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
We're doing it with Colossus.
Shield battery goes with everything.
Nice.
Well, so it wouldn't be. I don't think it would be that big of a problem. Like to keep it as it is, if if they didn't buff like everything else as well, like upgrades and Colossus and I don't know, Disruptor, whatever, you know. But it's a combination of everything. That's what makes TVP a complete mess.
Yeah,
like they buff everything for Protoss, like if it's that way, but they kept the same TVP army the same, right? Like they didn't touch anything but nerfed the mine, right?
Right.
So it's just
well, the
like
Liberator
I didn't know how they expected it to change. Like I don't know what they expect. Like they just buff every Protoss unit and they nerf.
Well, the mothership core, they might have thought that the mothership core removal was...
that's...
Oh, it seemed like a lot. It seemed like a huge thing,
It seems
right?
like a lot, but like if you see it now, like even in the old patch, you see TVP. Well, you see the open Oracle, right? And then they go Adept or Cell, whatever. But when do they make the mothership core? Like it's very, very late. Because they don't need it early on. So now that you buff like a lot of units early on for Protoss, and they still don't need the mothership core early on. Like it's not necessary at all.
Maybe
so now they could nerf the Oracle.
Yeah, but like you know what I mean. Like even like the dispatch Stalker openings are better. Anyway.
Maybe a good point to start maybe would be just to make the upgrades take a little bit longer than that we were touching on earlier, right? That would be a good point to
start. I'm not sure that's enough. Like right now, TVP is just bad because like
little by little.
You have no opening window. Like you have no timing to hit. You have nothing that's good for you. Liberator range, like even like Liberator range play, which was very used, it got nerfed to just because the Stalkers and the upgrades are so fast now. So like normally with Liberator range, you had like a 2-1-1 upgrade timing against Protoss 2-1. But now like when you try to hit this timing again, Protoss will have 3-3, they will just roll you over. Like, no chance.
Maybe even F+2 shields already as well if they're lucky.
Like, it's not. It's just. They buffed too much Protoss stuff and they didn't buff any Terran stuff, so that's why TVP is like complete shit miss right now.
They should revert the Marauder change.
Yeah, I bring that.
Still don't know why they nerfed that in the first place.
Oh, I thought you meant the I thought you meant the blue trail.
No. Like that change to me even made less sense than the Widowmines, because what they did is they nerfed the Marauder damage by splitting into 2, and then they buffed Ultra Armor. It's like,
yeah, that was crazy. I'm not sure what was the reasoning behind that one.
No, they didn't give it. I think they just
I think the reason was like we don't want to Terran play only Bio against Zerg, like only spam Marine Marauder and beat everything, blah blah blah. But like,
well, they did it finally. We're not playing Bio.
Yeah, so reverting that. So reverting that might be a way to go. It seems like it would help against a lot of things, a lot of the complaints that we have right now.
Yeah, it would help against Zerg, against us.
I don't think it would be enough. Like it would be a nice change, but it will help against Protoss and against Zerg, of course.
Yeah, little tweaks, papi.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. So Oracle Revelation duration reduced from 43 to 30 seconds, so from eternity to very long. Stasis ward will no longer affect Zerg larva or eggs. This is just, yeah, this was just needed like a while ago. I feel like this was should have never been intended. It's like the most frustrating thing ever. It's like, oh, I can't do anything. Stasis ward has a 170-second timed life duration. Pulsar beam weapon changed from spell to normal damage. What does that mean?
Well,
that armor works.
Yeah, but it's getting changed back anyway.
It's getting changed back.
Oh, okay.
It's getting changed back, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Cool.
it doesn't matter.
So
I
what
think
is
all
the-
of these changes are kind of common sense changes. I don't think we need to discuss them too
Yeah.
much. Like
I agree.
they all,
Yeah.
it's like they're all nerfs.
Revelation
but
was-
they're all nerfs that
yeah.
were necessary.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Revelation was just
Revelation, it did.
ridiculously long, and targeting larva and eggs was just stupid. Not even from a balance perspective, just from a design perspective, it's like that just shouldn't happen. It's frustrating. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Adept shade increased from 2 to 4. Shade side increased from 2 to 4.
Yeah.
So a slight buff, reverting as well on a prior change, I believe.
Well, it used to be
it will-
7.
It
Used to be
was way
7.
more.
You used to reveal your whole base before.
Yeah, we used to be able to scout everything if we would bump into the depot a bit.
So this is a little bit better for adept harassment, right? It will be a little bit more difficult to get surrounded by lings. You will be able to move in a little bit more confidently than before.
It's mainly really good against Zerg, where I can also check the drones a bit easier on the natural and check what's coming out of the axe. So it's nice against all-in.
Or behind mineral
It's-
lines to check for tech structures.
Yes,
structures.
yeah. It's a very good change, I think. I think it's the sweet spot as well. It's not broken against Terran like it used to be, where I could scout everything.
It helps
It
the
just
adept
gives us a-
accomplish its...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not the big. And then my favorite change is the Warp Prism one.
Oof. Go on.
Oh, the visuals.
Preach
It
it.
actually looks pretty cool. You can see it like floop in.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes me happy.
All
Or was
right.
it little sparkles?
So, unless anyone has anything to say about the adept or war prism or oracle,
But I still think the warp prism needs like to be nerfed, but it's just me. I think like pickup range is insane. What it costs is like for what it costs, it can't do
Make
too
it-
much.
Make it cost gas.
Like the pickup range is insane. I think it's worse against Zerg, the pickup range, but it's still insane.
I don't know though. A lot of the time, I feel like when you do get to kill a war prism, though, the game just kind of ends. You know, I feel like nerfing the war prism is really.
Wish I could say the same.
Yeah.
I wish I could say the same. Yeah.
Okay.
There's times I kill the what's the name, the balls with the thingy, and the game don't end, man. It doesn't finish.
The disruptors in the war prism.
Yeah,
Oof.
the game don't end.
That's crazy, man. All right,
Yeah.
moving on to Zerg. This is the final chapter in this episode. Infestator. Undetected burrowed infestors will be more visible on low graphics. Okay, infested Terrans. Rifle damage reduced from 8 to 6. Is this a thing? Is this current? Is any of this going to change in the next?
No, you need to like go to the new one, I think.
Okay. Targeted units, new weapon, infested rockets, targets air units only, and it does 14 damage, so considerably more. Range 6. And it's and air units are prioritized. So infested Terrans a little bit more of an anti-air unit now. Zerg missile attack and ground carapace upgrades will affect infested Terrans, which is nuts. And fungal growth slows the target. For fungal growth, it slows the target movement instead of stopping it. The radius is bigger than before. So yeah, let's touch on the Infestor now. Bergman.
Yeah. Yeah.
fields.
So, like from the games in the beginning, the Infestor felt completely broken. But recently it hasn't felt like it used to be a free win to go to the late game, like in the early days of the patch.
Mm-hmm.
But now it feels like it's not a free win anymore. But it's kind of swapped from what it used to be, right? It used to be a little bit Protoss favored in the late game, but now it's more on the Zerg side.
Okay, so we
It's
took
mostly
CVP
the
here.
infested Terrans. Yeah, CVP. Mostly infested Terran. Versus Terrans as well, like the fungal is a lot better. Like even though it isn't stun anymore, you can hit like an entire army of bio basically with one fungal. but that's being fixed a bit.
Sometimes I feel like it's if you're playing someone who doesn't make good decisions, it's even better, right? Because they keep moving towards you but slower.
Yeah.
So you just keep fungling them and like trying to fucking run towards you.
And it was also, like when the patch first came, and like you would fungal someone, they would try to run away, you know. Whereas before they would just like stand and fight, and that would be better.
That is, yeah, that's probably that's oftentimes the best. Yeah, if you're running towards your opponent or running away, a lot of the time that's just gonna mean more fungals on your face.
The thing is, you have to go to like the new Infestor, because it's gonna get changed a lot again, like a few days.
Definitely.
I think the changes are good.
Yeah,
so
this is in fights though. When we're talking about picking off units, picking off medevacs, picking off warp prisms, even fungal in clumps of muta, the fungal is much worse, right? Like the units have a chance to get away, have a chance to split, so that they don't get caught by the next fungal. So pros and cons overall, I like it. Maybe a little bit too big a radius, maybe.
Yeah, without being addressed in the next patch as well.
Yeah, like the next patch you can't
cast it burrowed. Yeah, which is what it used to be. I never liked when the change to the Infestor came and you were able to cast these abilities burrowed, because I thought it was gonna be way too strong. Yeah. So I'm glad it's reverting to that. It'll take a little bit to get used to, I suppose. But yeah, overall I like the change that they're proposing, which is, you know, you have to unburrow to cast fungal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was really stupid versus Terran, especially. The burrow fungal. You could just end the game with one Infestor.
Nasty. Yeah. Now, Overseers, new ability Oversight, increases vision by 25% and immobilizes the Overseer. Same as the Observer, only much worse.
Way worse.
Way worse, right? Because you want to move your Overseers. They move way faster. It's not invisible. So...
just kind of useless, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, so your Overseer is now an Overlord.
It's a buff to Guru, so he can keep his Overseers in place.
I guess for me too, but you know, I would just place an Overlord there instead.
Yeah. It's useless. It doesn't change anything.
Not much. Viper, Parasitic Bomb, damage increased. So if you wanted to make that change to the Overseer, I think you have to give it like way more radius or something for it to be worth it.
Yeah.
Even then, I think it's super useless.
Like way more radius.
Make it like a sensor tower.
Or what I think it should do. What I think it should do is give you you know, because the Overseer has one huge eye in its face. It should give you like a cone radius, like huge, but only in, like forward. You know, you can look forward with the Overseer. It would be consistent with
his main.
Like it could instead of looking in every direction, it can just look way more in one direction. You know. With his giant eye, that would be.
Make it Overseer by third base, directed towards his main, and I see the Dark Shrine is building. Like,
not that much, you know, or maybe I don't know. Next, I have some sort of cock block for it or something. I don't know, but that would be cool. Okay, Swarm Host, movement reduced. This is a weird change. I never felt like the Swarm Host was.
Talk about the Viper though.
Oh, Viper. Viper. Parasitic Bomb, damage increased from 60 to 120 over 7 seconds. No longer stacks, 0.7 delay before the Parasitic Bomb effect begins. So this has been a common trend with spellcasters, especially we saw it on the Raven, where they want spellcasters to become a little bit more of support units rather than units that you mass and just, you know, go attack, move, and cast all your shit and see stuff explode, right?
This is a buff, you know that, right?
Yeah,
it's a buff if you make less.
Insanely good.
It is a buff.
It's a buff if you make less, right? Like it's a buff if
yeah, but then it's a buff, right? Because you don't need to make as many.
You don't need to make as many.
Well, you don't need to make as many, but you don't benefit from making as many, right? Whereas before you could have made a ton and benefited from all of it. So
not really, because before you make a bunch, right? And then you use the spell, and I could just land my package. But now there's not even that chance. Like they just die.
Yeah, like
the damage is too high, and also you can make the same amount, except you can use the other abilities now.
Yeah, that's
you can just cast 2-3 Blinding Clouds and just use, you know, not Blinding Clouds, Parasitic Bomb, and then use the other abilities.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Maybe reducing the damage to like 100 or something like that instead of 120, or would that be too high? Still?
The thing is, if Vikings have 140, you don't have 140 HP.
Okay.
So you leave it with 20 HP. They are already pepper planes, so you leave them with like super pepper planes. I think they should be little less damage, like 100 or 90, something like that.
Something like that.
They double it, like it's basically the double for the same
Yeah,
mana.
I think 90 is a good number. 120 is like, even if you react, they're already like in red, so they only need like 1-2 shots to die. So I don't know.
Not sure. Yeah, like as it is right now, like you take an air fight, like with Corruptors or whatever versus Vikings, and you put parasitic bombs, and a Terran, they can't stand and fight anymore. They have to run. Like if they stand and fight, everything just dies.
Oh, Vikings has 125 HP, so they live with 5 HP.
Oof, that's rough. Yeah, I was even Normally I get Vipers in CVC when I'm going like Turtle Lurkers, and then my opponent's going Broodlords, and I just pull them. But last time I was just parasitic bombing them because it just does a lot. It was just killing their shit.
Make it less extreme.
Okay,
like
so maybe a slight nerf is in place for the Viper. Just tweak it a little bit, 20 damage or something.
I think it's okay.
It's nice you can stack it, but like if you just throw in like 2 different Vikings, it's accomplished kind of the same,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
They can nerf like 100, I think, and it would be okay, maybe. But if they go lower, they have to bring back the stacking, I think.
Oh, you think so? I don't think so. No.
Like if they go lower, then
if they go back, they could go back to the original Viper. I think there was nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it was okay.
Okay, Swarm Host, movement speed reduced. I never understood this one much. I feel like the Swarm Host is intended to be a harassment unit. I understand that mech players kind of dislike it sometimes. I don't think it's that great against mech, honestly.
It was very good.
But
right.
But the speed decrease, it just seems stupid because it's making it worse at doing its intended job, right? You want the Swarm Host to get in there, launch a wave of locusts, and try to get out. Now it's much easier to punish that. So when do you use Swarm Host? Because defensively, Swarm Hosts are pretty unreliable, pretty shit. Yeah, so I don't like this change. I think it's just inconsistent with the spirit of the Swarm Host.
But it was too strong against Mech. Like it was really too strong, I think.
I mean,
so like what will happen is like you have if they change it back to what it was, like back to 4.3 or whatever. If the bios are already dead against Zerg in dispatch, it's like really hard to play. It's kind of no point. If you would bring back the Swarm Host to what it was, it would make Zerg very broken against Terran, I think. Like right now, what keep it saying is TVC mech is quite good, but if you change it back to like you have to deal with Swarm Host as well, the way it was before the patch, I think it will be very, very broken in favor of Zerg.
I felt like Terrans were really bad at dealing with Swarm Hosts when going back.
I know. I'm good at dealing with it, but it's not that easy as it sounds.
No, I feel like if you make enough Hellbats, though, you're perfectly fine. And I felt like a lot of Terrans didn't try to take advantage of like the times in between Locust waves. Like you can just move out, right? Like when after the Locust wave.
It's not that simple as just moving out because you just make a shitload of bendings and kill your Hellbats and then you roll you over.
Yeah, if you push in too fast. Also, some of the maps had like the main base is really awkwardly placed, so they can just shit Locust into your main base and you can't really respond. So you end up just bleeding slowly. Like you lose a depot, you lose 5 depot, you lose add-ons, and then you just end up kind of bleeding out.
Like there was ways to improve it, of course, like improvement as Terran player. Like I honestly myself, I didn't have problems against Swarm Host, but I was very good against Swarm Host. But it's not that easy to deal as people think it is.
Okay.
I see a lot of Terrans having like a lot of problems against Swarm Host.
I think a lot of Terrans do have a lot of problems.
They had problems against Swarm Host. Now it's shit. I think it's not that good.
I agree with Catz though. Like I think they needed a nerf against mech overall, but I think this is the wrong approach. Because it, like you said, it kind of kills the point of the unit.
Right.
They should have done something differently, but definitely not this.
Yeah.
I feel like they could actually just like remove the Thromos at this point. Like if they both want to buff harass or something.
Add a new unit.
Could,
put in Goliath.
Put in Goliath instead of Infested Goliath. Hells yeah.
Infested Goliath, yeah.
I love it. Okay.
Like the Night Swarm is something they could experiment with, I think, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's an option for harass, but whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Lurker then. Morphed from the drone instead of the Hydralisk then. Cost 150 minerals and 150 Vespene gas, 86 seconds. This pretty much changes nothing, right? Like it's a very weird change. It's only if you wanna upgrade both Lurkers and Hydra speed at the same time that you would ever get it, I think. Or that it would ever impact you, right? Because That's all that it fixes. I think in terms of cost, it's the same, right? 150, 150 if you include the drone.
Don't you can you make like the upgrade for Hydra and the Lurker at the same time now?
Yeah, that's the one.
That's a good
little
thing.
buff.
That's the one thing, but it's rare that you want to do both things at the same time, right?
Like if you're going lurkers, you're making hydras as well, usually.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're gonna get lurkers, it's useful. So
Sure. I mean, it's sure. I think it's okay. I think
Like,
it's
you're never
difficult
going, like,
to.
Ling Lurk,
I think
right?
it's a huge investment, right? Like because you're investing into two different units, basically. Sure, you're eventually gonna go lurkers if you go hydras, but to take advantage of the hydra range, like you need to make a certain number of hydras, you know, like higher than 1 or 2 or 3, right? Because otherwise, they are all spreading the cost of that upgrade, and the same goes for the lurker then. So you would have to be going pretty heavily into just like hydra lurker with a good economy, I think, to justify doing both at the same time or want doing both at the same time. Usually it's going to be like hydras and then you go into lurkers, right? Like once you have a decent number.
Like if you're gonna go lurkers, you're usually committed to the hydra path already. Like
Right.
you're not gonna go like links and then add on a few lurkers usually. So it makes sense. I think it's a good.
I think it's a nice little
better
change.
than
It
nothing,
doesn't
yeah.
impact too much, but I think it's all right.
It's alright.
All right. And now the upgrade Adaptive Talons that reduces the burrow time from 2 to 0.7 seconds and increase the movement speed by 10%. It costs 150, and it requires Hive. It's a pretty ridiculous upgrade. It's super fucking strong. It does
Yeah,
require
it's
Hive
insane.
though. So
Yeah, but it's a mad upgrade.
it's
Like,
massive.
It's like cracklings, but better.
Yeah.
Like they
You know-
shoot before the animation is finished.
You know what it is, Kevin?
Tell me.
Imagine my Widowmine with 200 HP, and they use border all over you, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah,
That's what it is.
it's crazy. And they have like the fucking line as well. Shoot, the spikes made. They got range over Widowmine as well. It's a really good upgrade, but against Protoss, it's not that big of an issue.
Well, against
because-
Terran, it's not that big of an issue either. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't seen a lurker.
It's a great upgrade. It makes the lurker a lot better, but yeah.
I think it could be useful against Terran if they play bio at some point. Like someone's gonna figure something out. I see my man
yeah,
folks.
yeah. I think that's the way that we all think of it, right? It's like it makes the lurker, which is not a shit unit, not a completely shit unit, better. So there must be some good uses. The problem is it's Hive, so we're not gonna find ourselves in the situation to get it and use it effectively that often. But we'll see how it develops. I like it.
I will see Rock do using this against bio. I think it will happen eventually.
I mean, what
Maybe.
doesn't work against Baya? Terran tears.
Oh, here we go. The biggest.
Oh,
that's
the biggest for
Yes.
Puppy.
Yeah,
Overlord. Movement speed increased from 0.82 to 0.902. Afterwards, the Carapace makes it so that it's the same as before. Puppy, preach it.
This is a stupid change against Terran. It's just done.
No.
Yes,
good.
it is. No, it's not good. How's it good?
Puppy has been hating on the Overlord speed since the last time they buffed Overlord speed. He called them Ferrari Lords.
There's no reason to buff it.
There is a reason to buff it.
When Legacy of the Void came out, like the early game goes faster, but they never buffed the Overlords. So now it's the same as Heart of the Swarm.
Similar
it's
to
not.
Heart of the Storm. Yeah, because
And we had a great game on Heart of the Swarm. Terran opening 3 CC every game. It was fucking great.
Yeah, it was amazing.
so.
Yeah, because it was so easy for Zerg.
But
You
because
want that?
what Bergman is saying, because the economy was sped up for Legacy of the Void, right? Because you start with 12 workers, things transpire faster, so you get to your tech paths faster, etc., and Overlords had the same speed as before. So by the time they reach the Protoss or the Terran base, it's much later than when they.
I know the concept. I know why
Mhm.
they did it. The problem is now, just by doing this, you remove like one risk from Zerg, at least against Terran. Like before, if you play like no Overlord speed against Terran, you were taking a risk to die to some stuff. But now it's a lot easier to scout a Zerg with.
But you don't
no.
even need to scout that much in this patch. Like you only need to know if it's 3CC or not. Like that's the only thing you're scouting
What
for.
Yeah,
what
but
kind
we-
of mech build it is?
But now
but
you
I mean,
do.
like you're always gonna go Bane Nest because it's always gonna be Hellbat. So it's like
I don't know. Like there was no reason to buff it against Terran. It's just a buff. It's like if my Reaper were faster. What do you think about that?
It's a little different, Papi.
Like my overlord don't kill your SCVs. But...
The Reapers don't kill probes or drones either.
Yeah, but you kill my links.
They kill my
sometimes.
drones.
If you micro, you kill no links either.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I think that's all the changes, right? Aside from co-op missions, which is obviously cool. Lots of cool new things added for and to the game. I guess we could take a couple of questions, or does anyone have anything else to add or that you want to discuss right now? General feelings.
The new patch that's coming by, I really dislike how they're trying to say that this will fix TVP wise, because it won't. It really won't. Like they just nerfing the Oracle, which is it was a very good opening, but now it's arguably worse against Terran than it was then it's the Stalker or Robo opening. I think Kevin will agree with me, but so they basically killing the Oracle opening.
Yeah, like you wouldn't mind.
They just killing it by making it 3-shot worker. I mean, 3-shot SUV, not worker. But that doesn't really address any of the problems that we discussed TVP wise. That it's mainly Stalker, Colossus, and upgrades being too heavy scale. I don't know. I think that it will not change much TVP wise. It will still see Terran die to Protoss. It's not because the problem is not the Oracle, and I hate that people think the problem was the Oracle.
All right. What about new maps? Someone asked in the chat. So briefly going over the map pool as a whole, I have a thought. I think that the old map pool was boring as fuck. Every game played almost the same. I felt like all the maps looked pretty much the same. It was just boring as shit for me. So I really like the new map pool. I feel like there's a lot of variety. I feel like there's a lot of exploring and a lot of map-specific strategies that can work. So I think having a lot of fun trying out things on these different maps.
I think the map pool looks fine. The only problem I have, and I still don't understand why map creators don't understand, is that there needs to be a way for a Reaper to jump into Scout against Protoss. It needs to be like a requirement at this point. Like, for example, Blackpink or Neon Violet, it's like almost impossible to scout the Protoss, what Protoss doing. And that's very important TVP.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I mean, it's been 7 years, and it's kind of like a normal thing at this point that you kind of have to scout. And just not having those like paths to jump in the base is just...
Does it need to be a cliff on the side, like, you know, where it's basically a path only for the Reaper, or can it be...
It needs to be more than one entrance to scout.
Yeah, you need an entrance in the main and in the natural.
That is nasty, though.
But look at Blackpink, for example. Like, you put a Stalker and you can scout anymore.
Sure.
So, like...
like Twitch chat GM will tell you to just scan. It's like, no. Just...
Or like Make Tipo. It's basically Make Tipo. Like Make Tipo, you can scout, so you gamble so much. So, like, what maps we have like this on this map? We have kind of Fire, right? Essential to Fire. We have Blackpink. We have Neon Violet. And what else? That's kind of like this. Like, you look, for example, at Catalyst. That's a good example of a good design to scout with a Reaper. That's like this little path that you can jump in.
Even Interloper was fine, right?
Yeah, Interloper was fine too.
Like, you don't necessarily need to have it go into the back. It can also just be in the front, where you don't really change anything in the map.
That's what I would.
I agree.
That's what I would like.
It's honestly a requirement for a map in 2017.
I don't want it to be in the back though.
No.
I mean, you don't need it like. You don't need like Catalina where you can 3-rax Reaper and jump in anywhere. I think that's dumb, and it's like to chase the Reaper around. But you need 2 points to enter a base.
With a Reaper,
like, they need to be far enough so the one unit cannot cover both.
What is the map? Is it what is the map that had the last season that had the third inside your base and had a Reaper path right next to the entrance of the natural? Into the main?
What's the name?
Is it Acolyte? No.
Acolyte, yeah.
Acolyte? I like that one. I like that because...
That one is fine. It had 2 openings. Yeah.
Because like for Zerg, if it's like somewhere else, like not at the front like that, then you have to commit like an extra Overlord. And for me, it's annoying because I have to like chase these people that are like fucking clicking all over the place and just killing my drones. So I like it in the front like that.
Yeah.
You need like... it needs to be a requirement by now, like... It makes bad gameplay. Like make deep against Protoss was just one of the most below maps because you can't scout.
It's also something for Zerg where if there's no entry into the main, you can actually go third hatch before queens because you don't need 2 queens right away. You only need 1 in the natural to defend the first Reaper. It's not a huge deal, right?
Other than that, I think the maps are pretty cool. Neon Violet and Blackpin, I think they're good maps overall, but that little change, it will make the map a lot better.
Yeah.
I love the map that everyone hates. What's the name? Boardwalk.
I think it's okay map.
I fucking love it.
It's okay.
It's great. You can proxy
okay
hatch. You can proxy hatch at their gold, and they can't do anything about it.
What do you mean?
You
I just kill you with a dropship.
Well, you're a Terran. I mean, like with the Protoss. Actually, with Terran, it might still be good to like just proxy hatch there because it's like, what do they like? You have to cover an extra entrance then. It's I think the best or one of the best maps for proxy hatching.
I think the map is okay.
Ever.
I don't dislike it too much. I think it's a nice little change. Like it looks different. It looks nice.
Different. It plays different.
Yeah, it's not a bad map. I don't know what people think it's a bad map.
The only thing I dislike is that there's really only one path of attack because the top one isn't viable in longer games, especially in PvZ. Like it becomes this massive turtle fest, which is really annoying to play and it's terrible to watch as well because honestly nothing is happening. I think the early game mechanics on that map are fine, but
that could easily be fixed by rocks, destructible rocks.
What do you mean?
Like if you make some paths open by destroying destructible rocks, then
like what?
That's...
Yeah, but then it's a different map.
It's a different map, but it plays out the same in the early game, right? So it would only affect like the area that bothers you, which is like the Turtle Fest.
Sure. Yeah.
No, but even if there were rocks, you still wouldn't be able to attack to the top, right?
Yeah, you can.
Well, if
like you don't have to remake the top part of the map.
Yeah, I don't mean block it with rocks. I mean like make rocks that are like huge that open up pathways where it opens up the area rather than.
Okay.
Like rocks everywhere.
Rocks or just
like more rocks.
There's like
more
long.
rocks.
There's the long. There's the long.
There's
rocks,
always
right?
the rocks.
There's the long rocks. A lot of the questions being asked in chat, guys, I think we've touched on. So I think we did a pretty good job, guys, covering most of it because a lot of these questions seem to be from people that came in late and are asking about shit that we've already talked about.
But yeah, overall, I think the maps are fine.
Yeah, I think this is one of the best map pools we've had, to be honest.
It's the best one. The best one we had in Legacy.
I love it.
No discussion.
I think
no
so
discussion.
Yeah,
maybe
like I don't have a clear veto.
Maybe Odyssey, Back Odyssey.
Yeah,
I
that's the worst map, I think.
Give a shout out to the man who invented Neon Violet, because we've had maps for 7 years and no one ever came with the idea with the little blocks in the middle that block unit movement. It's brilliant. It really changes the way a map works.
Yeah,
it's so like this guy is. He should be paid.
It really
by
changes
Blizzard,
the way.
honestly.
It really changes the way the map works. Yeah, and if
he would have been the goatest Kevin if he got the little jumping.
One of my favorite clips. One of my favorite clips in Legacy of the Void is Puck just goes in with his army into the squares, and my boy Jimmy, he's trying to attack into the squares with ultras, and they're just getting stuck. And he's like, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" Fucking Jimmy, man, trying to go in with the ultras into the squares.
That's so fun.
That was fantastic. It's fantastic to watch maps like that, like some people playing maps like that. Yeah.
Esto está roto, güey.
Está roto, güey. All right. Well, I think we are finished then. Let's do shoutouts. I really enjoyed this. Thank you very much to all of you. This will most likely be on Beastie's YouTube channel. This episode will be uploaded there. So what is the YouTube channel, and do some shoutouts for us, Beasties.
All right.
I'm going to link it in the chat if anyone is interested, which you should be. So for me right now, I'm a casual streamer / almost professional YouTuber. Upload videos every day of gameplay, random memes. So check it out. And like Catz said, I'll be uploading this on my YouTube channel as well. And check out my stream, twitch.tv/Beastyqt, and all the social media as well. That's it. Thank you to Catz for hosting this.
My pleasure. Bergman?
Yeah, just check out my stream, twitch.tv/SortOf SC.
Some of the best music on Twitch, no doubt.
Thank you.
Gameplay
thanks
well,
to Catz.
well. Oh, my pleasure. Kevin.
Thank you.
It's my turn?
Your turn?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Kevin.
Shout out to my boy SortOf for coming on the show with us.
Hell's
Always
yeah.
a pleasure.
Big shout out.
Follow him on twitter.com/SortOfSC and follow him on Twitch as well. Thank you very much, SortOf. It was a pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thanks for
You're
Catz and Beasty for setting this up, of course. It was a bit long, a bit lengthy,
A bit lengthy.
but my bladder held, and that's very important.
Fantastic. Papi?
Well, thanks for inviting me. I might sound a little whiny, but
You invited yourself, actually.
yes, thanks for having me. I might sound a little whiny. I feel I speak for many people, even for Protoss and Cyclone players, that they feel that Terran play right now is no bueno, no go, and they need to really take into consideration some of the stuff that I think I'm saying and most people are saying. But yeah, thank you for having me, and
My pleasure.
see you next
Papi. You've been wonderful. Thank you all for coming. Thank you everyone for watching. Yeah, I think I'll probably stream some StarCraft after this, so if you want to stick around for that, great. And be sure to watch this and share it. It will be uploaded to Beastie's YouTube, so I'll allow myself to plug it a little bit more than usual than I would my own content, because I feel like it's really important for us as a community to kind of share this content, to kind of like get behind it, to promote more of it, right? So that we get more of that vibe where you have ongoing discussions and you motivate content creators such as Beasty or myself, or whoever wants to do anything. So thank you. Stand by if you want to watch some StarCraft. Thank you, Papi. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Bergman. And thank you, Beasty. I will see you guys next time.
Adios.
Adios.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you.
See you.